So here we have our first one, just reminding us if our vertex is outside the circle, the rule is half the difference. So we just did 116 minus 54, divide by 2 to get the answer of 31. Here we're going to do the same thing. So vertex is outside the circle, so it's 149 minus 43. Divide that by 2 and get 53. Very simple. So now you go ahead and do the next two. Alright, our next one is that same rule, it's half the difference. It's just here they give us the angle and we're asked to find one of the sides. And so we have to set up this equation. And so our first step is always going to be multiply by 2. We don't want that half in there. So we're going to do this times 2. And so we do 129 minus this angle equals 32 times 2. So that first step is always going to be get rid of a half by multiplying our angle by 2. And then we just solve. 129 minus x equals 64 minus 129 gives us negative 65 equals negative x. And then we divide by negative 1 to make that positive, so that means x equals positive 65. And we check, yes, that's a logical length for that. So again, you have two problems to do here, so work those out on your own the same way. Next we have one where we're asked to set up an equation and solve for x. So the step here is just plug in the numbers, half the difference equals 2x plus 23. First step was to multiply by 2, and then we solve it out step by step. So on this one, I'm going to go ahead and start by writing out the multiply by 2. So 129 minus 59 equals 2 times 8x minus 5. And so then I solve. So I go ahead and combine those, and that equals 70. Equals, and then I distribute, 16x minus 10. And then I add 10 to get 80 equals 16x. And divide by 16 to get 5 equals x. Alright, so again, you have 2 to set up, so do what makes more sense to you, setting up like this first and multiplying by 2, or just skip straight to the multiply by 2, because 2 times the angle equals that, the difference of those. Alright, on our next one, alright, so now we have our vertex on the circle, which just means angle equals 1/2 the arc. And so I just have 98 divided by 2, because that's my arc, equals my 49, which is my answer. Alright, so then you go ahead and do the next one, or the next 3. Now we just have it again where they are on the arc, but now we have an equation to solve, so we just have to recognize it. And again, I don't like working with fractions, so usually if it's not a straight number, we do this side times 2. Here it worked out nicely, so we just 84 divided by 2 equals 2x plus 18, and you solve it out. We plug it back in to check and make sure we did it correctly. Alright, on this one, though, this is where it doesn't always divide evenly. So now I have 45 equals 10x plus 10 divided by 2. And so this one actually does divide evenly, so I can go ahead and do 45 equals 5x plus 5. But if it doesn't, my first step would just be to multiply both sides by 2 and solve it out from there. But this is a nice, easy 40 equals 5x divided by 5 to get 8 equals x. And I'm real quickly going to check. So does 10 times 8 plus 10, which equals 90, is 90 twice of 45? Yes, it is. Alright, and there's 2 for you to work out. So then the next one is if our vertex is on the circle, it's half the sum. So I add them together, divide by 2. So 200 plus 50 divided by 2 is 75. 95 plus 55 divided by 2 equals 150 divided by 2, which is 75. And then I check and realize there's actually a mistake here. 250 divided by 2 is 125, not 75. Alright, so move on to the next section. And you have 2 to do by yourself. And then we're going to move on to the ones where we have to solve for one of those missing angles. So our missing one plus the 150 divided by 2 equals 110 in the middle. And again, that first step is always multiply your angle by 2 so you're not dealing with fractions. And then solve it out, plug it back in, make sure it works. And so we're going to do the same thing here. We're solving for x. And so x plus 125 equals 95 times 2. So x plus 125 equals 190 minus 125 to get x equals 65 degrees, and we're going to check. 65 plus 125 divided by 2, and I plug it into my calculator and see, yes, it equals 95. So now you have 2 more. Solve them by yourself. And then we go to our very last one where x is involved. So I just set up 99 plus 61 divided by 2 equals 80x. I'm going to use my calculator to help me. So 99 plus 61 divided by 2 gives me 80 equals 80x. So I divide by 80 to get x equals 1. Alright, and go ahead and do problem 30, and you are finished for today.